Hello and welcome back to another My Hero Academia review, chapter 222 this time around. And before I get into the actual chapter, I kind of want to talk about the very cover page for this chapter, which I think a lot of people are a bit confused about, and I'm not gonna lie, I am too. So the cover page that we have is apparently a poster for the My Hero Academia movie that's coming up. We don't really know exactly when the movie is coming up, I believe, but we do know that it's been announced, and I think it was said next year at some point. We know it's supposedly early next year, because I believe it was winter 2020, which is obviously somewhere between January to like March. But the image is what people are confused about, and I just don't blame them at all, because what we're seeing, we see Bakugo crushing some kind of drink, we see Ochako, Ida, and Todoroki. You know, Ochako, she looks very happy, and Tenya, he looks kind of disgusted, whereas Todoroki looks, well, he's sleeping, literally. Like, you can see him sleeping while standing up, mind you, or sitting down, whatever he's doing. But at the end of the day, he is not very enthusiastic about whatever is happening. You know, whatever they're looking at, it's not something that interests Todoroki at all. And Deku, however, Deku is flying. He is a fucking butterfly or a moth, or I don't know what that is, but it is definitely something. It is something that you wouldn't expect to see Deku as at all. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of point that out, because that is the weirdest movie poster I've ever seen for any anime ever. Well, in relation to what they're actually about. I mean, My Hero Academia is about superhero stuff. I don't really know what kind of correlation there is between the poster and the movie. I'm sure there is something, because we don't really know what the movie's about yet. We have no information about the content of the movie. All we know is roughly what time it's gonna air, and that's it. Anyway, let's get on to the actual chapter, because this chapter I really liked. I really liked chapter 222 of My Hero Academia, simply because of the fact that it focuses on Shigaraki a lot. We even get a lot of backstory on Shigaraki, which we didn't really previously have. We had a very limited amount of backstory from Shigaraki up until now, and since he is the main antagonist, I'm really glad that we get a lot more depth on his character, especially where he came from and, you know, how his journey started, which is exactly what we got in this chapter. Now, right off the bat, I just want to mention that we found out that Shigaraki's original name was Tenko Shimura. Now, we knew he was a Shimura from long ago, but if anything, this kind of hard confirmed his origin to whoever may still be thinking that All For One was bluffing to All Might, which is now confirmed not to be the case, because he is a Shimura shown from the flashback. It wasn't really said by anyone that could have manipulated any kind of facts, and it was in fact the memories of Shigaraki himself. So his name is Tenko Shimura, but now obviously his name is Tomura Shigaraki instead, because he's changed his name. Well, I guess All For One gave him that name, since he's the one who took him in at a very early age after Shigaraki supposedly murdered his entire family, which is something that, you know, a lot of people have been speculating that he did, because that makes a lot of sense given what kind of quirk he has and stuff like that. And honestly, I'm kind of happy that we got to see that. Obviously, we didn't see them die or anything, but we saw enough to determine exactly what happened, and it was kind of explained in good detail, to be fair, exactly what happened, although maybe not exactly what members of his family it was exactly, but I'm assuming it's his foster family, because we do know that he was put in a foster family so that he wouldn't be in any danger. Now, that obviously backfired quite a bit, but at the end of the day, they didn't know that was gonna happen, and that's why I'm kind of guessing his foster family is the family he killed rather than his actual real parents. I mean, we don't really know who his real parents are, to be honest. Like, we have no clue about those people. They could be dead, they could be alive, I don't really know. One thing during this chapter that I found to be quite interesting was how we saw Shigaraki as a child really starting to freak out when he didn't have all of those hands attached to him, but when they were attached to him, with the help of the doctor, of course, because he seems to be the sort of scientist genius that helped figure out Shigaraki on some level. After he attached those hands on this person, he seemingly became a lot more calm and a lot less distressed. And at one point in the chapter, Shigaraki actually says that he does feel extremely disgusted, but at the same time very calm when those hands are attached to him. So I'm gonna assume that either there's some kind of subconscious element going on with Shigaraki, where he has some kind of hidden memory within in him that he can't really access, which probably has some kind of reaction whenever those hands aren't close enough to him. I mean, I don't know why, but it certainly feels like that could be the case, but it could also be something the doctor did to those hands, because as we did see, the doctor has modified those hands to look a bit different. Like we see how there's these tubes going into them, and we actually see how that's kind of like a thing on Shigaraki as well. Like when Shigaraki is wearing them at the back of him, you can actually see those red tubes going into the hands. So I'm wondering if that actually has some kind of effect. I'm really not sure. I have no idea exactly what the doctor is up to when it comes to those hands. I don't really know what those hands are for. I have speculated in the past, and I stand by this, that I believe those hands are eventually at some point going to be able to inherit a quirk each from All For One that Shigaraki will be able to access somehow, instead of him getting the actual All For One quirk, which a lot of people think. And if that happens, you know, that's cool and all. Like, I'm not gonna be against that, but I just don't personally think that's going to happen. Now, obviously, he did mention that he also has no way of remembering before the time All For One took him in, which I found to be very interesting, because that kind of implies that he either has extremely bad memories from before that time, and I'm not just talking about him killing his family, I'm talking about potentially even before that, because you'd think that he should still remember his family even if he killed them, if that was all there was to it, but it feels like there's something more. Now, why would he go so far as to kill his entire family just because his quirk activated by chance and, you know, awakened? It doesn't really feel logical that he would just straight up go on a rampage and kill everyone in his family just because his quirk awakened. Even if he went a little bit crazy over his quirk activating, I don't think it would go that far, you know what I mean? It feels like there's something extra to it that we don't know about, and I really hope we find that out in the future, because that would be something that's really gonna add to Shigaraki's character, especially if he was, say, maybe not tortured, but treated badly by his family. Then that is definitely going to make a lot of sense why his memories before All For One took him in are nowhere to be found. Like, he cannot find those memories. He has suppressed all of those memories, and why has he? I don't know. I really hope we find out though. Now, moving on to the next part, and potentially the last part that I want to talk about, and that is the very end of the chapter, where we saw the son of Destro again, which we haven't seen for a while. And yes, this concluded the flashback part of this arc, so we're no longer gonna see Gigantomachia versus the League of Villains. That's kind of off-screen stuff apparently. Well, we might see some moments of it, you never know, but for now, you know, the whole flashback stuff is over and we're back to Destro, and we saw this really interesting panel that I really cannot quite describe myself. Now, what does it look like exactly? Well, I'm really not sure. It looks like just a sack of meat. No, not even that. It just looks like something. It kind of looks like really strange looking flesh, and you can kind of see a finger on top of it, which kind of implies that it was originally a human, but right now there's nothing human about whatever I'm looking at. And honestly, if this is Giren, if they have done something to Giren, I'm actually gonna freak out, because that means that the Quirk Liberation Army means business. And if they mean business like that they would just straight up kill a member over not spilling the beans or whatever, we're looking at a pretty serious group here. Like, we have the League of Villains and we have the Quirk Liberation Army that are dead set on destroying the League of Villains. This arc is gonna be absolutely hype and fantastic on every single level. I mean, the arc's probably barely started and I'm already extremely hyped about it. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this review. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked this chapter, because I did. I really like this chapter, and I really hope we get to see more backstory from the League of Villain members. Like, now we have quite a bit on Shigaraki. I mean, there's definitely room for more, but we have enough to say that Shigaraki has some kind of background now. And I really hope the other members get an equally good treatment, like Toga, Dabi, Twice. I mean, Twice has a bit as well, but then we have Mr. Compress and Spinner. You know, these people definitely need some backstory, and I cannot wait until that happens, because, you know, every member of the league is unique and quite interesting in their own way, despite the fact that we know very little about them. And I really hope that, you know, once we get to know more about them, you know, I'm gonna start liking these characters a lot more. Anyway, with that said, drop a comment down below about what you thought about the chapter, and as always, if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. This has been Chaotic Plus, and I'll see you next time.